Extremely divisive player amongst the Fever fan base has been Sydney Colson. And they're not going to cut Sydney Colson. I'm going to be honest. Colson is there. She's on the roster. Colson is completely on the roster. And when it comes to Colson, she has a spot on the team. But what we have seen so far is that Sydney Coulson is... Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Got rid of the wrong thing. Michaela Timpson is 100% on the team. But what we've seen so far from Sydney Coulson is that... Does she bring energy when she's on the floor? Yes. Yes. Does she play defense? Yes. Does she tell jokes? Yes. And the biggest reason why she is she's gonna be on the team is because she tells jokes. That's the being honest. That's the main reason she's on the team. You could have got a much better backup point guard for her price. She tells jokes. But there is one thing when it comes to Coulson, and this is what Sydney Coulson is good at. In the regular season, their rotation is going to be... their rotation for guards is going to be Caitlin Clark playing 32 to 35 minutes a game. And then their backup point guard is not going to be Sydney Colson. Maybe it will be for 5 minutes a game. But their backup point guard is probably going to be her. She's going to be running the one when Caitlin Clark's not on the floor. There's only 200 minutes to go around. But there are going to be games where, let's just say hypothetically, you're playing against the Washington or the LA Sparks. You're playing against the Sparks and you are getting absolutely cooked by Odyssey Sims or by Kelsey Plum. And you just need somebody to go in and get a stop. And Sydney Coulson will come in for 3 possessions, might get a steal, run the floor, and play with maniac effort for 3 possessions, and then get subbed off and not play again. That is what her role is. And there is nobody better at doing that than Sydney Coulson. We saw last year with Wheeler. Wheeler wanted to play. Sydney Coulson, with her being on the Aces, she's happy staying in the league. She's 100% happy staying in the league. She's not been a max contract player. She's somebody who nobody expected to do what she's done with her career. She's somebody that's what she's there for. For lack of a better word, she is there for vibes. She is not going to be there. She is not. If Sydney Coulson is in the rotation, something's wrong. Something's wrong. This is what the rotation should be for the Fever in the regular season. And I understand there's 44 games, but Coulson should be on the end of the bench. It should be. Your starting 5 is your starting 5. Obviously, this is the starting 5. Then, no matter what, Sophie Cunningham first sub off the bench. No matter what. Then, second sub off the bench. Ironically, I think I would rather have Lexi Hall in for Caitlin Clark, and if Sophie Cunningham run the 1, you just go all-out defense. But it should be with them one of Michaela Timpson, Dantas, or Bree Turner. That's going to be a really interesting thing with those type of players, because when it comes to the Fever, do they keep all 3 of them? Because the 3 of them, 2 of them, Bree Turner and Michaela Timpson, will play quite similar roles. And if they're willing to risk it, what I would do if I'm the Fever is Coulson has a definite role. Bree Turner is a rim protector. Dantas is a stretch big and on a guaranteed contract. I would cut Bree Turner and keep Bree Hall. I would do that, but the Fever aren't going to do that. Look, Bree Turner is there for a reason as well. Bree Turner is on the team for a reason. She does one thing. And that's the problem when you're an end-of-the-bench player at the top level. You're there to do one thing. And that's exactly what Sydney Coulson's there to do. Can Sydney Coulson run an offense? No. No. This team looks garbage when Sydney Coulson is on the floor on offense. Sydney Coulson cannot and will not play long periods of time. Yes, she looked really good in a WNBA Finals game a couple of years ago, but that was, as much as anything, the Liberty choking. That was a game where she didn't have to run an offense. The Liberty were just so scared because they knew that the Aces had lost half their damn team, and they knew, oh crap, there's pressure that we have to. There's like pressure on us now, so that's the big thing. And Coulson, in those type of games, in those pressure games, it's not about the X's and O's of basketball. A lot of time, it's just about getting buckets and putting the ball in the basket, and she gave energy. She gave energy. But she does one thing. And that's, again, that is why she's going to make the team. Coulson has looked bad in preseason. Everyone's saying, oh, she looked good yesterday. It is the Brazilian national team. They might as well have played Ireland. They won by 64 points. The Indiana Fever could have won by 100. The Chicago Sky could have won by 70. Like, this is the Brazilian national team without their two best players. This is a two-player team without those two players. But when it comes to Coulson, a lot of people, again, and I think people are right to question Sydney Coulson. Question her spot on the team. Question whether or not Sydney Coulson should be on the team. I think it's actually a fair thing to question Sydney Coulson. I think that's completely fair. Because she doesn't do very much. And especially in the Washington Mystics game, she looked unplayably bad. Like, she was legitimately the worst player on the floor for either team. And she was they won a game and she was minus 15. And again, Aaliyah still just getting her finishing back. Like, look, again, if Aaliyah didn't have a track record of shooting the highest percentage, of having the highest field goal percentage in the WNBA, I would be extremely worried about Aaliyah. Not worried about Aaliyah yet. Yet. That's a yet with the finishing. But Coulson being minus 15, the team just couldn't function with her on the floor. And yes, the team runs 100 times better with Caitlin Clark on the floor, obviously. But the team obviously runs a lot better with Sophie Cunningham than it does with Sydney Colson. So if Sydney Colson is getting in backup point guard minutes in the first quarter of games, or she's playing 8-9 minutes a game running the point, then yeah, she should be gone. She should absolutely be gone. And do I think the Fever should have gotten Sydney Coulson at the start of the year? No. No. I don't like the Fever bringing in Sydney Coulson. At all. I don't like this. I don't like it one bit. I think they had enough experience. I think they got rid of a legitimate backup point guard that could have been incredible. But Sydney Coulson is going to do something. And Sydney Coulson is going to be on the roster. Because you do not, when it comes to the playoffs, you don't need 12 players. Your 12th player, a lot of the time, is a vibes person. And I know that from coaching. You keep players on the team that make practices better, that make the road trips better, that make being around the team better, that make the vibes better, that will make it in the tough situation, the playoffs, that'll make it better. And the fact she does one specific thing, you keep those players on the team. Because a young player, or not even a young player, ideally, you would have a young player there, but it makes sense why you'd have a Coulson. And also, they're not getting rid of her.